Hello all, hope you are doing well. Finally, we are going to learn classes in JavaScript. Okay, if you're watching this first time, if you don't know what is constructor functions, please go back and watch previous videos because without understanding constructor functions, it's not a good thing to enter into the classes, especially in JavaScript. In other programming languages, the story of classes, the journey of classes is different. When it comes to the JavaScript, it's a story and the road map of that classes is different because in JavaScript, classes are not something different than constructor functions. Okay, it is completely equal to the constructor functions, and it is syntax wise there are slight changes, only that much. So let's say first of all we can create a simple constructor function, and at the same time we are going to learn how to create the class for equivalent to the the same constructor function. Then you can understand what is classes in JavaScript in a easiest way. Let's see. I hope you guys already learned constructor functions. So I'm directly writing the function, suppose a player. So we are taking the same example from last few videos. So it's a function. So we have a parenthesis, right? We have a parenthesis, and you can provide some parameters like a first name, player first name, and player the last name. So with the help of this information, this constructor function will create a new object every time. So it will, okay, internally every time it will create an object with the name called this. Okay, that's the, you can say this is the origin of this keyword, and it will return that this object. So in between we should add our properties and methods to this object. Okay, we should not write this code, okay, because that will handle by a JavaScript engine. So I'm just, for a reference, I've just provided. Otherwise, just remove these two lines also if you already understood. So here, what I'm doing, this dot the first name, okay, whatever the first name we are going to provide here, we can bind to this dot first name, and then this dot the last name is equal to the last name, and as we learn get a full name, I'm just binding another function to a get full name. So here simply the console.log, okay, and use this backticks and just to put a dollar. If you want to add any variable information, this dot the first name and to give a space, and again you want to add the another variable, so this dot the last name. So what it will do, it will return this dot first name, like it will return a full name. This is a simple constructor, a function. So you know, right, how to create a object based on the constructor function. Okay, player 1 is equal to new player, and you should pass the player information like Surya Kumar Yadav, or Surya, you can write Kumar as the last name. So then it will create a player 1, and even if you want to create a player 2, constant player 2, you can go and you can create another player with the help of the same constructor function like Hardik, and I can put, okay, Hardik Pandya. So fine. So this is the constructor function. So this is what we already understood. Now I'm going to explain. We are going to learn how to create a class. So this is equal to a constructor function. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So now we are going to write a class. So class and class name, of course here we have taken example of a player. Now for classes I'm going to take an example of an employee. So employee. So but observe carefully, whenever you are creating a class don't have a parenthesis. Class don't have a parenthesis. So if function have a parenthesis, that's why you can pass a first name and last name. But how can we pass if you want to pass any parameters or like through arguments, how can you pass? Because class don't have that parenthesis. So for that, just class, what class is providing? It is providing a default method called constructor. Okay, because in a constructor function, this is already a function, you can invoke it and you can pass the parameters, right? You can pass the arguments because these are the parameters, and whenever you are passing, these are arguments, so you can pass it. But for class you don't have a parenthesis. That's why they have provided a separate constructor, because whenever you are going to create any object with the help of class, okay, you need to pass the first name and last name like this. Immediately it will invoke the constructor is the default method. So simple here. So whatever you have written the first name and last name, so I'm just copying the same code so that you can correlate with that, then easy. So here whatever you are providing the first name and last name for player, here also we are providing the first name and last name for an employee. That's it. Same thing here also, whatever you are doing here, okay, the same thing you can attach here. Simple, simple, simple. So in the constructor, whatever the just constructor function is doing, it is going to create a this keyword it is going to create an object with a name called this, and whatever the information you are providing, okay, we can attach as a property, and we can attach this function also as a property to that uh, player. So this is also same, simple. Syntax wise, observe carefully, only syntax wise it is slightly different. Here in the player constructor function, the name should start with a capital letter. For classes also, the name should start with a capital letter. And constructor function have a parenthesis, but classes don't have a parenthesis. For that only, we have an extra method that is called constructor. That's it. Maybe you can understand that constructor function, right? This is the constructor function. This is, we don't have a function inside of that, that's why we are using the same a name that is called constructor. Okay, this is simple. So now how you have created a player 1 and player 2, here simply you can create employee 1 and employee 2, and we can compare all the objects in the browser itself. So here I'm writing employee 1 is equal to same syntax, new employee, and you can pass the employee first name and last name. Suppose so junior NTR, the last name uh, Taraka Rama Rao, something. Okay, I'm just putting like as a junior NTR like this, simple, without making complex. Another employee, suppose a constant employee 2 is equal to new employee. Okay, like Ram Charan. Okay, super. You know, right? Triple R movie. Heroes, actors from Ram and Ram Charan. So employee 1 and employee 2. So if you see the same thing, for constructor function is looks like the same. Class is also similar to the constructor function. Here in JavaScript, syntax wise, only change from constructor function to the classes. Apart from that, nothing. Only few important things are there. We are going to learn those things. But functionality wise, both are same. So here I will log the details. Console.log. Okay, console.log a player 1, and again console.log player 2. We can observe, is there any difference between the objects which we have created with the help of constructor function, and objects which we have created with the help of a class. Okay, what's the difference between employee one and the console.log? Okay, please code along with me and do a practice, otherwise you can't understand anything. So just open the things in the browser, right click, inspect element, just check the console. So we have the player 1, player 2 is there, and employee 1 and employee 2 is there. Just expand one player. Player 1 have a first name, last name, and get full name. In the same way, player 2 also first name, last name, and get full name. Okay, right now we can compare one player with one employee. So here also observe carefully. Em Employee also have a first name, employee also have a last name, employee also have a get full name. Even if you see, the get full name is a function. Here also get full name is the function. We have passed the first name and last name while creating the object. That's why you got some information. And observe carefully, this is the prototype. Even if you see, prototype is an object, prototype is object, just expand those prototype and observe carefully. You will find some slight difference. So here the prototype is of a player, that is a constructor function. That is a constructor function. So here the prototype is an employee, that is a class. Syntax wise, this is the constructor and this is the class. That's it. There is no difference between constructor function and the classes so far. You want to test? Yes, you can test it. You see, player one dot get full name, you will get the details, and as usual, player 2 dot get full name, you will get the same, like means you will get the player 2 full name. Here also just go with the player 1 dot get full name. Okay, and here employee 2 dot get full name. So everything works perfectly in a similar fashion. Just refresh. So if you see, player 1 Surya Kumar, player 2 Hardik Pandya, here employee 1 Junior NTR, employee 2 Dharam Charan. So here in JavaScript, understand clearly. So classes are syntactically change from the constructor functions, but both are same. But in the last session, I hope you guys understood. If you understand, just do practice and just remember these things, because we are going to enter into some other important things. Like we should share the information with the help of prototypes, right? How we have done with the constructor functions. So if you want, you can take a small break and come back and watch the video so that you will get understand easily. So fine. So now here I'm going to draw the diagram one more time for you. So for this is for the player. Whenever you create a player 1, it will create a player 1 object, and it will create a player 2 object, and it has a syntax like first name and last name and everything. So I hope I've explained everything already. Suppose I'm giving a shortcuts, first name, the last name, and get full name is a function. Okay, we have three things. So whenever you invoke, this is a player, and this is a constructor function. Okay, this is a, I am mentioning, this is a constructor, a function. So for this also, here you will get the first name and last name is available for that, and get full name. Whenever you invoke get full name, here also first name, last name, get full name. Okay, whenever you create an object with the help of a new keyword, new a player, and if you pass the first name and last name, it will bind to this one. Okay, sorry for the disturbance. The player, and here also you get as a new a player. Okay, and we understand in the last session about a prototype. That is very important, right? Prototype. So if you want to share any method, like if you want to achieve the inheritance, if you want to achieve the inheritance in the constructor functions, what we are doing, we are attaching the new method to that prototype, right? That constructor function. Suppose here I want to add a new method. What we can do here, simply you can do a player dot prototype dot, I'm just adding like a say hello. Hello is the new method function, because I want to achieve the inheritance. Because if I attach this to a prototype of that player, and then it is available for all the players. If you create player 1, player 2, player 100, player 2000, player 10,000, player 1 lakh, also you can share this information to everyone. So consider log, just say hello, you can say hello, hello, hello. That's it. So just refresh, observe carefully in the browser. This is very very important. For player 1 is there and player 2 is there, so you can't find the say hello on the player 1 object and player 2 object. You can find that in a on top of a prototype, because prototype of player 1 and prototype of player 2 is common. So if you see, you can find the say hello here, you can find the say hello. That means you are, if you want to attach, if you want to achieve inheritance, okay, in constructor function, what we are doing, we are attaching a method to that prototype for that constructor function. In classes, how to achieve that? This is the syntax wise, that's why I'm saying syntactically classes are very very good than constructor function, but logically both are same. So here in a class employee, suppose if you want to attach any method to a prototype of that class, or so what we can do here, simple, write say hello outside this constructor. So if you write a method like this, if you are attaching a function to the get full name, that is not going to attach the prototype. But if you define any method outside that constructor, outside the constructor, that is going to be attached to that prototype, means it will be available for inheritance. So I'm writing the hello, okay, good morning. So this hello good morning, the say hello, will be a common method for employee 1 and employee 2, even if you create a number of methods. Observe carefully, refresh, because it will attach to the prototype. So player 1, they have first name and last name. Player 2, first name and last name is there, and get full name is there. That say hello, because we have done player dot prototype dot say hello, that's why it is attached to that prototype. And when it comes to the classes, observe carefully, here also for employee 1 and employee 2, you can't find that say hello, because we have attached that to a prototype. So expand it, you can find the say hello here, and the same way you can find the say hello. So if you don't find, suppose now if you see, observe carefully, get employee 1 dot get full name, this get full name is available directly on employee 1. Employee get full name is already available for employee 2 commonly here again, but employee 1 can access say hello, and employee 2 also can access that say hello, so with the help of inheritance. So if you see hello good morning from employee 1, this is coming from employee 2. This is as simple as this classes, because I hope you understood, right? So we can achieve this inheritance with constructor functions. We can create a new object, and the constructor name should start with a capital letter. And if you want to create a new object, you should use a new keyword. That's same. If you want to achieve the inheritance, you should attach that method to a prototype, right? Then you can achieve. Classes also same, similar, but only thing is here, yes, class name also should start with a capital letter because class don't have a parenthesis. That's why it is providing a separate method. This is the default method. Whenever whenever you invoke this one, new employee, automatically this parenthesis is referring this constructor. So this is expecting a first name and last name because it employee is a default method is a constructor, that is it is going to execute this, invoke this constructor method. Simple. And if you want to provide any method, if you want to attach to a prototype directly, and it should be available for all the methods. Okay, even if you want to change in the future, you can change it. So if you want to achieve the inheritance, then you can just write that method outside of that constructor. So if you see, we have two methods. Get full name is there, say hello is there. If you mention here, this is going to directly attach to that object. And if you just mention outside, it will be available on top of a prototype. This is the simple difference between constructor functions and classes. Okay, so I hope, if suppose if you like this syntax, yes, absolutely you can go and use this constructor functions. But many people, like, they're familiar with the Java and C#.NET, and every time if you see, the very good advantage is here is every time you want to achieve the inheritance, you need to touch the prototype, player dot prototype dot say hello. But in classes, we are not going to write any kind of, we are not writing employee dot prototype dot say hello. Okay, instead of that, you can simply define that function here. So problem solved. So developer no need to touch the prototype directly. So if you just mention here, this is going to take care of. So this is the simple thing called a classes in JavaScript. Of course, if you're a Java developer, definitely you can say that yes, OOPS concepts, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism, these are the four principles are there for the classes. But in JavaScript, class is just syntactically difference between the constructor function only. We are just added some extra syntax to the constructor function, then we are using a classes. Of course, here in classes also we can achieve inheritance. Okay, we already done one level of inheritance with the help of attaching a method to a prototype. And of course, so whatever happened here, this is similar to um, classes also. And here we can achieve inheritance not only from one level, you can achieve n number of levels. Suppose this is the son. Okay, you can inherit some properties from father, and father can inherit some properties from grandfather. Like that, you can build a chain. Okay, that is called prototype chain. Prototype chain. Okay, these things we are going to learn in coming sessions. I hope you guys understand. So please do practice, get familiar with the syntax of constructor function and classes, and just understand clearly that if you want to share any logic between all the objects, should attach to a prototype in constructor functions. Here, syntax wise, it is very easy, so that you can use these things. Okay, thank you and see you in the next session. If you understand, just ping me that you guys understood or not. If you don't, suppose if you have any confusion, just mention your question. Definitely I will create a separate video, or I can directly interact with you to explain the topic. So bye bye.